SaCola Lehr knows what it's like to be everything for everyone until you lose sight of yourself in the process. She's walked the walk, wore the t-shirt too many times to count, and finally gave it back. She doesn't pretend to have it all figured out. She's a work in progress, just like the women she supports. For over a decade, SaCola has been helping women around the world reclaim their time, energy, and sense of self without guilt. Through honest conversations, relatable stories, and real life strategies, she encourages women to show up for themselves in ways that feel right, not just right for everyone else. Her book, Harmony Hustle for Women, Master the Art of Thriving in Life and Career, and her podcast, Work It, Live It, Own It, are extensions of that mission to help women stop pouring from an empty cup and start building a life that works for them, not just around them. SaCola, that's beautiful. It's so nice to see you. Oh my goodness.
It's good to see you again.
Yes, audience, I had the pleasure of being on her podcast. I think about maybe 3 or 4 weeks ago.
Hmm.
Honestly, check out that episode. I loved, loved, loved being a guest. And yes, thank you so much for having me. And I'm so happy now that I get to have you on mine.
Yay!
And
Yes.
then, yes, and we get to talk about taking care of yourself without feeling that selfishness and that guilt, all of that. I remember long time ago, maybe it wasn't even that long ago. I still go through this, to be honest. I felt like I didn't want, I feel guilty taking a nap. I'm like, what the heck?
Mm.
I'm supposed to be taking care of myself. And, I'm about almost 5 months pregnant now. I should be taking naps and not feeling guilty about it, right?
Right. Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you know what? When you said that, and before we even dive in, guys, that's episode 76 that Gina was talking
Yes.
about. So check that out. I have learned in, I would say, the past year that it's okay to take a nap in the middle of the day. If you think about it, we tell our kids, right? Or when you were a kid, your parents would say, take a nap. I don't know about you, but when I was in kindergarten, we were required to lay down for 30 minutes.
Yes.
Even if you weren't going to sleep, you were required to lay down and rest your body for 30 minutes. Why did we think that something changed as we got adults, that we did not deserve time during the day to take a break, to take a nap? I think Robert Duvall, he's in his 90s now. You know what he does? He says the one thing that has contributed to his longevity and him thriving is he takes naps
Wow.
during the day. So, who are we as adults to say our bodies don't need rest?
Great.
Where did we get that from? Where did it stem from? I know where mine stemmed from, of not being able to rest like we should. And
Yes.
it came from childhood experiences. Like if I was sick, I could not lay in the bed past 3 days. I had to get up, disinfect the house, and it carried over into adulthood. And my husband was like, what are you doing? You're still sick. But I gotta disinfect the house. It's dirty, it's germy. And it's not until I said, you know what, I'm a grown woman. Why can't I not take a nap? So when I'm tired now, guess what I do? I say, you know what, I need to rest. And I'll lay down and I'll take a nap. Sometimes I beat my husband to sleep.
Yes. I love that. And thanks so much for sharing that. It's so true. As adults, we need to take some time for ourselves, and the naps are very important. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they are.
Yeah. Well, again, thank you so much for being on the show. We'll just go ahead and start off with your journey of being everything for everyone and that how
Mm.
that ultimately led into a deeper reconnection with yourself. Can you go ahead and talk a little bit about that?
Years of staying silent. I don't where I grew up with in the South, in the United States, southeastern part of the United States. You're taught children should be seen, not heard. One parent was, okay, you can say what you need to say, but you need to say it in a respectful manner. If you cannot say it in a respectful manner, then you need to go back to the drawing board and wait till you come up with a way that you can communicate. I didn't learn that until later on in life, but Another side of the spectrum was you just sit there while you're being spoken to and you don't say anything back. And I think if we look back into our childhoods, if we look back into our cultures, society, how we grew up, we as women tend to get this constant tug of guilt when we think that we're taking up too much space, when we're voicing our opinion, or if it's an inner voice that's whispering, if I do this, someone will be disappointed, or I should always be available, or who am I to say no to this or to that when this reason is a good cause? Who am I to say no? Let's just be honest. It's across the board. It's not just in the United States. It's, I think this is a universal thing. And to get to your question for bringing it home, I kept silent for so long that when it was time for me to speak up, I would be loud, boisterous. I would rock the boat, and then people would come and look at me. I'm like, you didn't have to do all of that. You didn't have to go that far. But it was because I did not know how to effectively communicate and get my point across without being so emotional. And so that began to chip away at me. And then in my early 20s, the same parent that would just talk at me, talk at me, talk at me, when I would be abrupt with something, then it was, no one really wants to be around someone that speaks the way you do. And so I had to learn, even just, I would say, it's taken me with the help of and support of therapy. That's another thing that we can dive into about the guilt and shame that we have, or the stigma we have around therapy, but also life coaching, to be able to show up in a space and be able to effectively communicate and get your point across without becoming so emotionally in it to where it just comes across, or always saying yes to something when you really don't want to say yes to this, but you're told that you should feel that this is an obligation, not a choice, but it's an obligation. You must do this. You have to do this because this is what the societal expectation is. And don't get me wrong, there are certain things that, yes, it is good. I think it is good and wonderful to take care of your family. And I'm speaking as an educator. I'm a veteran educator, been in education for over 25 years. Parents taking care of their children. Yes. Not putting them in front of, I'm not judging, I'm not passing judgment, but parenting is a full time job. I applaud women who decide that, hey, I want to stay home in the formative years of my child's life and I want to be there to help raise them. There is nothing wrong with that. And certain women do feel guilty about that. And so I had to learn to chip away at my own self, do my own work. I learned a lot about myself when I started a business because I think just getting up, going and working a 9 to 5, I was a yes person on my job. I was a yes person in my personal life. I was spoken to dogmatically, rudely, yelled at by bosses, even in front of my own students. I've been yelled at by administrators, disrespected by other adults in front of my students. And so I would just hold all of that in. I'm a very introspective person until the point I would just blow up. And finally, I had enough. And then when I started running my own business and I really delved into business, what really made a bedrock business, how I wanted to structure my business, what my core values were, what I would accept, what I would not accept, then I was like, I really don't have time for this type of energy or this type of personality in my business. And then I thought, why am I allowing those things in my personal life? Long story, but
Oh, I love
it,
that.
it it was a journey. It has been a journey.
Oh, I love that so much. I can relate to a lot what you just said, talking about, I had it wasn't a 9 to 5. It was more like a 3 to 9 job over doing massage at the Four Seasons Hotel. I'm still there, but I
Mm,
decided to just be on call. Well, once COVID hit, that's when I started just doing 1 day a week and then eventually on call because that's when I started creating my business because I wanted just to build a business where I'm not reporting to anybody, I'm
Mhm.
not getting yelled at or criticized for whatever. And so then
Right.
that's what I did. But now I'm going through a grieving process now because I have just recently decided to put podcasts on hold, my coaching on hold when this new baby arrived, because I have decided now just to put my full energy on the baby. And of course, the rest of the children here. We are a blended family, so we don't have our children 100%. This will
Hmm.
be the first child we have 100% where it doesn't have to go to the other parent. So my husband and I have decided that I'm going to, well, I've decided really, he just supports me that
Mm.
I'm going to go ahead and stay home. So, but I've been going through this grieving process. Maybe that's why I was feeling sad. I'm like, oh, I'm only going to do a few more episodes, not a few more, but until December. And
Right.
put them out weekly. But I was just like, oh, it's sad, but this is a choice of mine, but and so I thank you for bringing that up. That hit home for me. And out of from your opinion, like why do you think women carry on that guilt, especially when they're trying to take care of themselves so much?
Mm. Again, I think it goes down to cultural conditioning
Hmm.
across the globe. Women, we were built, we were created. I don't know what anyone else believes, but I firmly believe that we were created. We are the only being that is truly nurturers at heart, right? The home, the family unit would not exist. It would not be as strong as it is without women as nurturers. Okay. So we're taught to do for others. There's more happiness in giving than there is in receiving, and that is true. But that also comes in with other people's expectations and cultural beliefs because in order to be a caregiver, a peacekeeper, a nurturer, then guess what? That means that you put everybody else ahead of you and you last. But I want you to think about, for example, just let's take an example. Let's think about a mother who skips her own doctor's appointments to take care of her family, right? Probably can relate. Now, she's praised for her sacrifice, but internally, she may feel resentful and depleted because she may say, man, I don't even have time to go to the dentist and get my own teeth cleaned. Or I don't even have time to go get a mammogram. I don't even have time to get the routine checkups. And unfortunately, that takes an emotional toll, sometimes even a health toll, because if we don't show up, if we don't go to the doctor's visits, then something that could have been caught earlier on, sometimes it's in the later stages. And unfortunately, sometimes it is too late. I have had two women that I've worked with have heart attacks on the job and never woke up again in the past 10 years. It is sad, but it's true. And they knew that they had heart conditions, but they kept pushing and kept doing and saying, I got to do this, I got to do that. And it took a health toll, an emotional toll, but not just a toll on them, but it also took a toll on their family because here is that nucleus now that is no longer there. And so I learned that when it comes to my health, and I'm just speaking about this health right now because health is very important. And I talk about this in my book about how to be an advocate for yourself, but also for your loved ones as well. I want you to think of it being on an airplane. If you've taken a flight anywhere, and I don't know if you've ever been on a flight where the turbulence is so bad, but we've probably seen it in television and in movies, and all of a sudden the oxygen mask just drop down. What does what do the attendants say to you first? What are the instructions?
Yeah.
To do what? Put the mask on who first?
The baby or the child. Or I'm
No.
sorry. This is the pregnancy fog brain. No, put
Yeah.
it on yourself first and then the child.
Right. Why? Why should you put the oxygen mask on yourself first?
We need it first to take care of ourselves so that we can take care of the child then afterward.
Exactly. So if you don't take care of yourself, you don't provide yourself with the things that you need, can you show up for anyone else?
Right.
Can you save anyone else on that plane? No, you cannot. And I know that was an instinct, right? That was a womanly instinct. That was an honest reaction that you just gave. I got to take care of my baby. I got to put the oxygen mask on my baby. Yes, you want to save your baby, but in order to save your baby, you also have to be fully present and save yourself
Yes.
first. And so I would say there's good guilt, and then there's also the negative side of guilt. Let's just put it in perspective because I don't want everyone to think, well, you shouldn't feel guilty about raising your kids. You shouldn't feel guilty about putting your family first. I'm not saying that. What I am saying is that good guilt or beneficial guilt comes from, say, for example, you said something, you did something to hurt a longtime friend or a loving family member. That guilt may kick in, that conscience may kick in and say, you were wrong. And I need to go and apologize. I need to go make this right. That is your guilt. That is your conscience kicking you in because you knew that you were culpable of whatever happened. You were responsible. You took ownership for whatever happened. And now that guilt has driven you to saying, let's make this right. So there's the positive side of guilt. The negative side of guilt is where you're allowing yourself to become so discouraged, so depleted that you are harming yourself. You are having thoughts internally about doing more harm. You allow this emotional toll of guilt to bury within you to where it manifests in other ways. You become more irritable, cranky. You're you're not thinking straight. You're highly emotional. You lash out at other people because you're not happy or you're physically harming yourself. You're not taking care of yourself. You're not eating. You're not a healthy diet. Or you're beating yourself up internally. That's the guilt we're talking about here. So I don't want people to think, "Oh, well, you shouldn't feel guilty about that." If it does jeopardize your health, if it does jeopardize your mental health, your emotional health, spiritual, physical, then yes, that is the guilt we're focusing on today. And it should not be taken lightly or for granted.
Yes. And I don't know if I told you this before, but when I first became sober, I didn't have my children with me. It was
Mm,
just myself. And at first, I felt a little guilt. But
mm,
then I thought about it and I'm like, you know what, Gina? You are actually taking care of yourself, healing yourself, doing the things that you need to do to stay sober and to
mm,
become a better mother. And that's what I did. So that guilt kind of just went away, and I'm like, yes, I'm doing things for myself so I can show up to be the
mm,
mother that those children deserve. And that's what I did. And now, I mean, I have them. And I'm so grateful that I do put myself first because sometimes if I'm not feeling good and they know mommy is a little cranky, I
mm,
will tell them straight up, I need some space. I'm going to go upstairs and I'm going to go heal myself. And when I say heal myself, that's either through prayer, meditation, breathing exercises, just having that quiet time for myself. And I realize that I'm setting up a good example for them. So that way, when they get older, I mean, they're boys though, but they probably, men still probably go through this as well, women more so though,
yeah.
that they could say, okay, you know what? I need to take time for myself too and give myself
Right.
that moment, right?
Right. Right. I even, when you said men go through it, I have to remind my husband now when he comes home from work, he's gotten better about it. Don't just go from work into something else as soon as you get home. This is across the board, it doesn't matter. Take 30 minutes to transition from work to home. Your commute does not count.
Yes.
Your work commute does not count. Now, granted, I have a long work commute. Okay. I'm a dual career person. I work a 9 to 5. I am a real estate broker. I also have my own business on and podcast. And people wonder, well, how in the world are you able to handle all of this? I schedule things, I time block things. However, I also put in vacant time. That is my non negotiable time. And so, even if it's 30 minutes from transitioning from work to home, I literally sit in my chair, look outside for 30 minutes, and then say, now I'm going to get up, I'm going to cook. And taking care of yourself could also look like getting up in the morning if you have children. And I'm doing this because a lot of women that I talk about, they're either they're in the sandwich generation. They're either taking care of children or they're taking care of grandchildren, and then they have older parents that are getting older and they're having to take care of them. I don't have children. I do, the ones I work with, but that I call them my kids. But I've learned I like slow mornings. So if that means I need to go to bed a little bit earlier so I can wake up early just to sit and drink a cup of tea, have a cup of coffee in peace and quiet before my pets, my fur babies start moving around or my husband gets up. That's taking care of yourself, right? It's going through the list. I don't know about you, Gina. Do you go through this list? Okay, what does my husband need today from me? What do my kids need? The important thing I would say is to add yourself to that list. What do
Mhm.
I need today? If it's just sitting 5 minutes, 5 minutes. Don't tell me you don't have 5 minutes. Because if you say you don't have 5 minutes, then I mean, let's look at your phone usage, that notification you get every Sunday of how many hours you've been on your phone for the week, or you're doom scrolling on social media, you're binge watching Netflix. If that's serving you and that's helping you to unwind, okay, great. If that's your selfish or guilty pleasure, as some people call it, okay, that's great. But don't say you don't have time to sit in quiet for 5 minutes and drink some tea or coffee or take a bath or aromatherapy shower, something.
Something.
Put yourself on that list every single day.
I love that. Yes, sometimes, in the morning time when I'm like, sorry, husband, you're gonna have to get your own food this morning. I'm not gonna
Mm-hmm.
cook. And he's
Mm-hmm.
okay with that. I do have a supportive husband. He's very loving and he understands, like, okay, Gina, just get your rest. If you need a couple of more minutes to sleep in, go ahead. Because he wakes up super early for work. And so that means normally I get up early for work or work for work. It is
Mm-hmm.
work, taking
Yeah,
care of the
it is.
household is
It
work.
is. It is.
Yeah, I
Yes.
make breakfast. I cook clean and I have my own business. I still do massage therapy to private clients and I'm still on call at the Four Seasons. So I think I do some stuff here. So I make
Yes,
sure
you
that I
do.
take some time for myself every day. I tea time, me time, that's a plus. I even if I just want to stare at a wall, I don't care.
Right.
Let me stare at a wall.
You
It's
don't
fine.
have to look at the internet. You don't have to be on your phone. You just sipping coffee and you just staring out the
Yes.
window and it's dark outside. I don't care.
Yeah.
Do that for yourself for sure. And yes, it's ironically, I'm finding that I have a following in Japan on my podcast,
Oh
which
wow.
is absolutely great in other parts of the world. So I'm always cognizant of information I'm sharing is not just localized here, but around the world, because I think being a mother, I've never had the privilege, I haven't been blessed to have that capability to have my own children. It is work. Yeah, I think it's one of the most fulfilling works that a woman can do. And it's not a knock against women who are out there who are career women. But what I am seeing that's so sad is women who have chosen to stay at home and take care of their kids, they feel guilty about that. They feel guilty because when other people are having conversations and they say, oh, I'm an engineer, or I'm a doctor, or this, that, and the other. Well, what do you do? In the United States, that's a big question to ask in conversation starters. So, what is it that you do? And she would feel ashamed that she stayed home, or I just work part time now that my kids are grown. She had 5 kids. Her and her husband had 5 kids. And she stayed home. She worked part time sometimes, but she stayed home and raised her kids. And I said, how dare you feel ashamed? How dare you feel guilty for that? I said, because you know how many parents I know that would love to spend time with their kids now that their kids are adults and their kids barely come home. I said, your kids call you up and say, hey, mom, let's go hiking in the mountains every year. Hey, mom, I'm coming home. Is it all right if I come home and visit? I don't know too many families that do that. Their grown kids want to come home and spend time with you. So you worked your tail off. And she had 2 kids that were special needs. One was nonverbal. They love their mother. They love their parents. So I don't want you to feel guilty for taking time off and stepping back to take care of the new one that's coming. And I don't want any other woman to feel guilty if they decide I need to step back. I need to step away from my career temporarily to take care of my kids. If that's what works for you, if that's what helps you thrive, do it. If you can handle it and work a full-time job and still take care of family, because I know women that do, and they do a phenomenal job doing it. I don't ever want any woman to feel guilty if they ever decide I need to put my family first. Because that's what work life harmony is about. I'm not about balance, I'm about harmony. Sometimes you got to put your health first. Sometimes you got to put your kids, your family first. Sometimes your spirituality needs to come first. I think that should be primary
Yes.
all the time, but some things going to have to take a back seat. And I think that's why guilt persists, is because we're trying to manage everything all the time and make it seem like this equilibrium all the time, and life isn't like that. It's never like that. That's my 2 cents.
Yes, and I love that too. So going back to when I first became a mother, I was working. I had
Mm-hmm.
nannies. Even
Mm-hmm.
with my second child, I was working full time. This is the first time that I have the privilege of staying home with my child, and I am so grateful. So again, thank you for reminding me that that guilt, I don't need to feel guilty for stepping this, putting my business aside, my podcast on hold, and just being present with the little one that's to come. And of course, the other children when I do have
Yes.
them here.
Yes.
I
But then
appreciate
the
that.
newborn is going to need a little bit more
Oh, yeah.
attention for sure.
And
Yes.
I'm excited because I finally get to not just have maternity leave, I get to have an extended leave. And it's
Yes.
up to me. It is my choice too. And yeah, that's what I choose. And so this is something that I've been going through lately, but this is why I needed to speak to you, SaCola, see? To reassure me, to help me, because I'm like, why am I feeling down lately? Like I'm normally a happy person, and you know, energetic, full of joy. And I'm like, I'm a little down. I don't know what's going on. Could be hormones too, hormones are
Yeah,
are present right now.
for sure.
Yeah. But how would you just go ahead and define what self-care looks like for yourself? And also, how has it evolved over time for you?
Mm. So self care does not look like manis and petties. It's not about the manicures and pedicures, although those are nice, and massages, because I get those too. It is really tuning in to what you really need in this moment. If it is your health that's lacking, like for me, the past few months, I realized I'm not feeling optimal. I've been dragging for so long. I'm taking vitamins, I'm walking, I'm drinking water, I'm doing this. Something is off. And we talked about this before. I'm in the prime of my life right now. So things look a little bit different than they did in their 30s and 20s, right? And I refuse to not allow myself to go, oh my goodness, I used to feel this way, or I used to have all this energy. It is about, okay, let me appreciate and nurture and love where I am in this phase of life right now. Let me learn how to thrive in this life right now. What does that look like? I don't know, because I don't have it completely mapped out, and it's none of my business to have everything figured out. I'll figure it out along the way. But it's actually prioritizing myself, it's not being selfish. And I think that's where people think, where if you're just focusing on yourself, then it's selfishness. No, selfishness can turn into self-love. Let's flip that for a minute, because prioritizing yourself is not selfish, it is necessary. And we talked about the airplane illustration, right? But here's a simple script of saying, of being guilt free. So, for example, when people say, ask you to go somewhere right now, or you're a mom and they want you to bake cookies for the class, or bring this, or they want you to show up at this event, or they call you in because you're on call, right? And you know you're not feeling your best, or you know you really don't have the bandwidth to add anything extra on your plate. It is okay to say something simple like this: I appreciate you asking, but I need to focus on my priorities right now. Or simply put, thank you for asking, but no, I won't be able to do that. And if some people, and you know, some people are out there, but why? You can say, I need to focus on my priorities right now. Or if you really want to be honest, I listened to one of your previous episodes. I think it was about a woman who was talking about the post nuptial agreement and about boundaries. I say the same thing. Literally, I tell people, you know what? I worked really hard this week. I'm going to go home and I'm going to sit on my couch because that's what my body needs right now. My body needs to rest. And self care also looks like, prime example, I have a friend who's younger than me, early 20s, and she said, and I was so proud of her because I would have never said this in my early 20s. She said, look, guys, I've had fun with y'all these past couple of weeks. I've done all these crazy things. We had just got off a hot air balloon ride. And she said, if there's something else that comes up, another event that comes up in the next 2 weeks, don't call me and don't ask me to come because I'm not going anywhere. I'm tired. I'm burnt. I've done my duty.
Yes.
I need time to regroup and refocus. Be honest. And a lot of people appreciate your honesty. Then versus you saying, oh, yeah, sure, I'll do this, I'll do that, I'll be there. And you do it begrudgingly, you do it haphazardly. Or you don't keep your word. If you said you're going to bring something, and, oh, I'll bake the cookies, and they're not the cookies you normally bake, and people are waiting for those special homemade cookies that you make, and you just come in with some store-bought cookies, then there's going to be someone in the back of the head, I thought she was going to bake some cookies, and these are just these. I could have done that. You get what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So I think we have to reframe that narrative of what self care looks like. Sometimes it's just about having a conversation and setting those healthy boundaries of saying, thank you for thinking of me, but I got to focus on other projects and other priorities right now. Or just being honest, no, I'm not coming. I appreciate it. Matter of fact, if anything else shows up in the next couple of weeks, I need some me time. I'm taking that time. You even do this with your kids. Mommy needs her space. Mommy needs to do some healing right now. When I started setting boundaries, like not answering work emails, it could look like this even at work for all the women out there who are working right now, or even in your business. I have a rule. I check my email 3 times a day: 9 a.m., 12 p.m., and 3 p.m. For some people who have the 24-hour clock, that would be 1,500 hours. 3 times a day. So if someone comes to me at work or in my business and they send me a message after that, I even have it on my voicemail that says, thank you for calling, da 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 da. My work hours is this. If you call me or text me after 6:30 p.m., please know I will respond to your call the following day after 8:30 a.m. Clear, definitive. That is what self care can look like without being selfish or coming across rude. You set the parameters in your business, your work, your personal life. You can do this because, as much as a manicure and a pedicure feels good, that's not really going to give you the self care that you need if you're still constantly showing up and being the yes person when you really should be saying not right now, or this is not the great time, or simply thank you for thinking of me, but no, I won't be able to help out. Prime example, I was in a grocery store today. You know, the question you get at the cash register sometimes, would you like to round up to help support a food drive or food bank? Now, that initially back in the day, that would hit hard for me because I grew up. There were times where I was homeless, there were times where I was hungry, I didn't have food to eat, and or people who would pander out on the streets and say, give you that story. And sometimes it's true, and sometimes you don't know whether they're being honest with you or not. And I would feel so compelled to give, and then only to find out that they told a bald faced lie. And so I've learned to not feel guilty if I say no on that, because I give in other ways. I give and support people who I know and trust, that I know if they need that support and that help, that I will help them, versus giving to something that I know nothing about. Because this could be any food bank. I don't know. Could it be your personal food bank? I don't know. Right. So you have to learn how to. I would invite anyone who's listening to this podcast to consider times when they've put themselves last and how it has affected their well being. Think about the last time you've put yourself last and you've waited and you've put off something, and how did it affect you personally? And if you're tired of feeling that way, then you know if you keep doing the same thing, you're going to get the same results. But if you do something different, you will start getting different results. Your brain is going to tell you, no, let's go back and do what we've always been doing, because your brain is wired to be comfortable. It loves to go to emotional safety, but just understand that temporary moment of emotional safety can cause lasting negative ripple effects in your life if you don't make changes.
That's so true. And I was a yes, ma'am, all the time. I was a people pleaser, saying
Mm-hmm.
yes to everything and everybody. But it really did take a toll on my health. I was becoming resentful. I
Mm-hmm.
was, I didn't have joy doing what I was doing. And when I say no a lot now. I say no, not right now, or no, because
Mm-hmm.
of this. But I'm always honest. You brought up a good point. Say the truth. Why
Mm-hmm.
you're saying no. And I think they would appreciate that. They would appreciate that. I know, for example, my mom, well, first off, she doesn't like cats. See, I love all furry animals. I love dogs, cats, hamsters, you name it, I love it. Reptiles, a different story. And a little
I
scream.
feel you. I feel you.
And so my husband and I were going to go take a trip to Hawaii. And then I had asked my mom if she doesn't mind coming once a day just to change the kitty litter, play with our cat, and also feed him. I was proud of her because she said, no, I don't think that's right for me. You know, I'm not really fond of cats, and no, we just don't have the time for that right now. For a woman who always said yes to everything in her life, I was so proud of her. At age 75, she's 75 now. I was like, finally, she gets it. She's saying no to even to her own children. This is a miracle. I said,
Oh, I love it.
oh, and so it made me happy that she said no, to be honest with you. And then that allowed me just to go on the Rover app and check out if there's some cat sitters, which I found a great one. She loves the cat. Now she comes and takes care of the cat whenever we go on vacation or travel. And just her being honest made me feel good. Now,
Mm-hmm.
it depends on how you say it. If you have like, no, I wouldn't do that. Well, that's going to hurt the
Right.
person.
Right.
And just be kind and honest. Like, not, I can't do this right now because of blah, 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 blah. And just be honest. So, yeah, the power of no, I always say, because it allows you to say something, it allows you to do something that you then are aligned to. You have a strong yes to something else that you're like, yes, this is going to feed my soul. This is
Mm-hmm.
good.
Yes. And I think when women release that guilt, or that idea that I'm being selfish if I look after myself, if I take care of me, you will go gain more clarity about what really truly matters. And then you'll start developing that confidence by the values you hold so dear that are important. And I realize that a lot of women are just going through the motions, they're going through life, but they don't have core value beliefs or core values of how they really should show up in their everyday lives. And like one woman I've worked with before, like you said, overcommitting yourself to volunteer work or starting that side business that she always dreamed of, but needing that time and space to do things, she had to actually sit down with her family and say, hey, I'm going to start a new business. This is a goal, this is a dream that I've always wanted to fulfill. And I want your support. Just like I support your dreams and your goals, I want, I'm asking for your support now. So, what mommy needs right now is help around the house. Mommy doesn't want to talk about clean up your rooms because on these days, you're going to tidy up your rooms. If they're old enough to wash the dishes, okay, let's come out with a chore sheet. And I've seen it in my dad's house. My brother had, his chores. As soon as he came home from school, he was vacuuming the carpet. There were just certain things that you did around the house. Husband, thank you. I need your support. I'm not going to always be able to cook every night. I'll cook on this day and I'll cook on this day, right? However, it works. I've seen it work in my family where if my brother cooks that night, then my sister in law is the one that's taking the kids, making sure they're getting their baths. Or vice versa, they one person cooks, the other person cleans the kitchen while the other one is taking care of the kids. You have to have those conversations. It's not just about, I'm sick and tired of y'all not doing this, that, and the other, and I need support around here. That's not what setting healthy boundaries looks like. That's not what navigate. It's sitting down, having a conversation. This is the goal. And in order for us to reach this goal together as a family, I need your support and I need everyone on board because we are Team Kunadian. We are Team Lehr. In order for Team Lehr to work or Team Kunadian to work, everybody's got to chip in, everybody's got to pitch in and make this work. And so releasing that guilt not only improves our own feelings, but it also models a healthy behavior for others, especially our children. They get to see what teamwork really is about from home. And moms, wives, because I'm one, if they don't do the things that you've asked them to do the way you would have done it, I need you to be okay with that. If they don't load the dishwasher the way you would have done it, give them commendation and say, good job. Thank you so much for helping out. Can I share a little tip with you? In order to get, you see how this still, residue is still here or some food residue is still on here? Can I show you a way to do this? So hopefully the next time the machine will catch it all. Or when you're washing clothes, if they're learning how to wash clothes, give them commendation, give them support. They're not going to do it the way you would do it. And we need to be okay with that. Be okay with that. Trust me. And they will learn, they will get better over time. But if you always pitching in and you're rolling up your sleeves and you're doing it yourself, they will never learn. And then they will lose the confidence. And you will be back in the same boat that you were in before.
Sorry, I'm laughing because it reminds me of a story that recently happened with my children and cleaning the bathroom. The youngest one, I had him model me once, and I said, you know what? I'm going to just show you, just observe how I clean the bathroom. So I
Mhm.
showed him, and then the next time he helped me a little bit, and then the next time he was on his own in his own bathroom. Bless his heart. He's all done, all happy and proud. I did it. And I said, you did. I said, okay, great. And I looked at the mirror. I couldn't even see myself in the mirror. I said, which solution did you go ahead and put on the glass mirror there, honey? He's like, this one right here. It was the bathtub cleaner.
Oh, wow.
So
But
we
he
just,
cleaned that
but
mirror.
it was so funny because I'm like, oh, I said, oh, honey, thank you so much for trying. This actually is the right one here, and you can read it here. It says glass cleaner. I said, so we just did it together and cleaned it. It was just so funny. We made it fun. I didn't
Right,
reprimand him. I
right,
thanked him for trying, and we just corrected it together. It
right.
was funny.
And think about it this way, you're teaching him lessons we learn from mistakes.
Yeah.
If you keep people from making mistakes, they will never ever learn. The only thing they'll learn is that I need to rely on you to do every single thing. And that's the thing that you're trying to move away from. If we're teaching our children, in education, they always talk about teaching them to be lifelong learners and to be responsible members of this society. Okay, well, they got to be responsible. They got to take ownership. They got to learn what good character looks like. And in order for that to happen, we have to model it and allow them to walk. And even if they make a mistake, I'm like, okay, what did you learn from this? Okay, what can you do now so the next time you won't have this, mishap. Not to say it will be perfect every time, but hey, you know what? Mommy makes mistakes too. Daddy makes mistakes too. And the thing is, when you do it just like you did, Gina, you're going to be less exhausted over time and you're going to feel so much more authentic. And I think that's the thing about releasing that guilt of being selfish, is because you get to tap into a more authentic person, being honest with yourself, being honest with other people. Just even saying to your family, you know what, I'm mommy. Even as a wife, I had to tell my husband, I'm feeling a little testy right now. Whew, I'm gonna put myself in timeout.
Yes.
I'm feeling a little testy, and when I tell him I'm feeling a little testy, he's like, "Got it. Are you hungry?" Because he knows I get hangry. Are you hungry? Do you need to eat something? I'm like, no, I just need some time. Even if we're feeling sad, we were blessed with so many emotions. We were blessed with feelings, and yet we suppress our feelings. And it's not just a female thing, it's a male thing. Men are taught to suppress their feelings as well. They're told not to cry, to suck it up. Even as kids, they fall, they hurt. Don't cry. What you crying for? Pick yourself up, dust yourself off. Yes, there's part of resilience there. However, at the same time, we need to feel what we need to feel. And so the I guess the final point I want to talk about is, as a woman, whether it's recovering from sobriety, you're on that pathway to recovery. Will you ever fully be healed? Probably not, but it's a step, it's a daily process, right? You make that conscientious effort to get better, at least 1% better than you were the day before. And if you focus on that, and when you do relapse or you have a mishap, you do make a mistake, be compassionate with yourself. Don't feel guilty. Feel compassion about yourself and say, you know what? I get to start over. There's a new day coming. I get to start all over. I get to hit that reset button every single day. Another minute just passed. Guess what? That's a reset. Don't feel guilty over mistakes you made. Don't feel guilty because you said no to something, and you just really truly being honest with yourself first, but you're also being honest with other people. And then they come to see you as the woman who is honest. I'm at work, people know if you ask her, you're going to get the truth because I won't lie. I won't lie. If I said I did it, I did it. I'm guilty. I'm sorry. I did it. I take the ownership for that. But please just look at every day as a chance and an opportunity to grow and to do a little something for yourself every single day. Put yourself on that checklist. And I challenge you to take something this week or next month, something that you know that's about to come up that you may not really feel like doing, and say no. If it doesn't feel right, you're not feeling it, just say no. this is not a good time for me. Or no, we won't be attending, but thank you for thinking of us. Keep us in mind in the future. Or no, um, I don't have room on my calendar for this. I'm sorry. And you don't even have to say I'm sorry. That's another part of feeling guilty, right? I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I'm not able to
Yeah.
make it. I'm just not able to make it. Won't be able to. And people keep pushing. And why? Because I'm tired and I need rest. And right now, in order for me to continue to show up, I got to keep my cup full. And what's overflowing from the cup, like a yellow Van Zant says, that's for y'all. But right now, my cup is running low. So I got to keep my cup full.
Yes, SaCola, keep your cup full. Yep. Mine's running a little empty. I'm gonna fill mine up too.
Right, right. Absolutely.
I love it. SaCola, thank you so much for being on my show. Can you please share with our listeners where they can go ahead and connect with you, get on a virtual chat with you, get your book, listen to your podcast, all of that good stuff?
Oh, well, thank you, Gina. So, the best way to get in touch with me, if anything in our conversation resonated with you and you're just looking to do a little bit more girl time and have a more meaningful interaction, then I would say head over to sacolalair.com / let's chat. There's my calendar there on that site. And 30 minutes or less, you just want to sit down. This is pressure free, no pitching or anything of that kind. I do have an accountability program, not necessarily coaching. I do have coaching, but I like to call it the Prone to Power Accountability Hour. But this is not that. This is just simply just reaching out and having a meaningful conversation. Think of me as that girl next door who's rooting you on, cheering you on, and you can connect with me that way. I'm on Instagram as well, Work It, Live It, Own It. And as Gina mentioned, I do have a podcast, Work It, Live It, Own It. My book, The Harmony Hustle for Women, is on Amazon, is currently being revised, and pretty soon it's going to be in paperback as well. Like I said, I added 2 more chapters, but you can head over to Amazon.com and check out The Harmony Hustle for Women there as well. But most importantly, I would love to actually sit down and meet women across the world who are on this journey. We can't do it alone. As much as we say we want to, we need that community of support. So head on over to sacolalair.com / let's chat.
Yes, and everything will be in the show notes for our listeners. SaCola, thank you so much. And just one last question that I always love to ask all of our guests here is
Okay.
what does it mean to you to shine within?
What it means to me to shine within is to be honest. We have to be honest and we have to move with integrity. I'm a type of woman who I tell people I don't like making promises I know that I can't keep. And that means if, like we talked about, if I don't feel it and I'm not doing it. Or no, I can't do it. Now it's not a good time. And I got to move in accordance with my actions and my words. And my father always says, believe none of what you hear and only half of what you see. When people see that you're moving with integrity and that you're an honest person, to me, that speaks volumes. And that's how you shine within, because not only are you showing up for yourself and you're being honest with yourself, you're being honest with other people.
I love that. Thank you so much, SaCola, for sharing your light and spreading your message across the globe. Much love to you.
Mm.